You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Its purpose is to dissect and discuss films both old and new. Today's date is Friday the 13th, which can mean only one thing. Yes, it's time to dust off the cobwebs and resurrect Jason once more. I'm your host, Saul Muerte, for this podcast, and I'm joined by Miles Davies. Welcome aboard.
Hello.
How's it going, mate? So, we're actually now, believe it or not, we're now about to discuss Jason X, the 10th installment of the Friday the 13th franchise.
10 installments, wow.
I know, man, I know. It's crazy that we've actually got there and nothing through this. And this is obviously the one that, you know, for those that don't know, it's basically Jason in space.
Jason in space!
Yeah, Jason in space! Yeah.
It's insane.
My little Muppets nod there. So look, yeah, it was an interesting one, and I was just saying to you offline that prior to watching this before the podcast, I suddenly realised I'd never seen Jason X before. I was a Jason X virgin, man.
I mean, it's easy to forget, really, because it just sort of sits there. It doesn't have a Friday the 13th before it, and it just sits there as Jason X,
That's
basically.
Right. Yeah.
So you kind of forget what it's all about, and the mask as well on the cover of the DVD cover is that silver sort of robotic mask.
Yeah. Uber Jason.
You don't really sort of associate it with being a Friday the 13th if you were just sort of casually perusing a DVD store, if they exist anymore.
Slowly watering away.
But yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed this one. When did it come out? What, 2010?
2002.
2002.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Mate. Yeah.
Oh, it's been out for a while.
So it's been a bit of a gap. So I mean, obviously, I was saying this was new to me. Do you remember when you watched it? Did you watch it?
Oh, look, I saw it years ago. So
yeah.
God, did I buy it? I don't even know. I must have hired it from the DVD store or something. And cause back then they would have had that would be the only way I would have watched it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, you know what it was? I was working for Village Roadshow at the time, and I had it on VHS. And because it was a Village Roadshow release.
Yes.
And 2001 is when I just was working at Village Roadshow, and then I changed jobs and went to work for Foxtel.
Yep.
And so yeah, I had a whole stack. I used to get given a whole stack of VHS movies all the time.
Oh, sweet.
And I think that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think around that stage.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I would have been incredibly stoned.
So probably the perfect solution to kind of coming into this movie.
I lived in a big stoner house around that stage, and we watched pretty much every movie like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
In the green haze.
I said,
I loved it.
What was it? Yeah, exactly. So look, okay, so you came out and you had good vibes, not just the green vibes going on, but good vibes from the movie when you watched it.
I mean, that's pretty much the last time I saw it.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just going. I was kind of dreading it in a way because I hadn't seen it since when I've only seen it the once before.
Yeah.
I was like, there's something wrong with it if I haven't seen it more than once. But you know, it was okay. I was just watching it. I was like, that was actually quite fun. It didn't take itself very seriously.
It definitely doesn't take itself seriously, no.
Yeah, and there's a lot of references to older movies, like even the Star Wars references, you know, with the 4 parsecs away.
Yeah.
So there's, and it's very self-referential, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Canberra girls and we're very promiscuous. We have premarital sex.
Yeah, that was actually a good moment, and then with the sleeping bags afterwards was just priceless.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, they really clearly had a lot of fun here.
Yeah. So look,
Yeah.
I mean, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the actual plot line, though, I probably just want to quickly mention the director. So that was a guy called James Isaac, who was closely worked with David Cronenberg on a lot of his earlier stuff in the special effects department.
All right.
And he actually worked on Gremlins as well as part of the Creature Crew.
Holy shit!
Yeah, man. So and then Existenz, which was
kind
of released in '99, and that was actually around like the next David Cronenberg, who obviously does cameo in this movie.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the time, the last movie that Cronenberg had done before he worked on Jason X. And then he would go on to do my mind's just gone blank. Spider, the one with Ralph Fiennes movie.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of the period we're looking at with Cronenberg's work, at least. But yeah, with James Isaac, like you look at his directing kind of roles. Like before this, he did a film called The Horror Show, which I have no memory of whatsoever.
I don't think I've ever seen it. No.
Yeah, like I'm just looking on.
It's got a good cast.
Yeah. I don't like people.
Lance
Lance Henriksen. Yeah, I'm just looking at it too. And Didi Pfeiffer. Look. Yeah, so look, I mean, like, if people know the movie and rave about it, let us know if it's a good film or not, worth checking out. But I just found it interesting, like, that his directorial kind of stuff is very slim. Like, he did a TV ep after this, and then Jason Isaac. Sorry, before this, Jason Isaac. Well. Yeah, that's right. And he did Skinwalkers, and then Pig Hunt was the last one.
I haven't seen Skinwalkers. Is it any good? I keep saying that the poster's amazing. Every time I watch it, it's because of the poster.
Yeah, sure.
It's a little bit shit, and I've heard it's a bit shit.
I've not seen that one, and I'm just that's the vampire one, isn't it, from memory?
Is it vampires or werewolves?
Oh, is it wolves? Werewolves. I think it's wolves. Yeah.
Run a Mitra in it though, so
that's right. Yeah, I remember seeing it on the I haven't watched it, but seeing the poster on iTunes, I think, when I was scrolling through and kind of looking for some stuff to watch. But yeah, so like it was interesting that like he was potentially kind of hitting his stride a little bit there, because like you said, like he passed away and he was only 50, 51 or something like that. So
quite young, isn't
it? Yeah. I don't know the cause of his death, but
I think it was cancer, actually.
Yeah. So look, it was interesting because obviously, like, to come back to Jason X, he obviously had a lot of good humor, like, to his movie, and I question whether that served this film well or not, because it did feel like there are stages where it was too in the camp area, Yeah. Well, they've taken Jason out of the camp, so they have to put it in some way. Hey.
I saw that.
But yeah, so interesting. All right, so, and obviously, like, the big thing about this is it's Jason set in space.
Yes.
And when they were trying to bandy around the ideas of where to take Jason next, this is obviously Sean Cunningham still had an active role in kind of producing the films. And New Line Cinema were now the distributor, so they hadn't been involved up until, with the exception of the previous one, Jason Lives. So they were trying to work on something, and they wanted to look at something new. And it was actually the writer Todd Farmer who just kind of they basically said, "What would you do with it?" And he just kind of came back and went, "Jason in space." And they kind of went, "Yeah, all right, let's see what that looks like."
Something.
Yeah.
Let's go into Lord of the Rings while you guys make that.
Yeah. You go ahead. Sounds great. Whatever. I'm just drinking some wine as we're podcasting. Yeah. So interesting. And Todd Farmer was actually one of the cast members in this as well. He was he played Dallas, one of the security guys. Who actually gets killed off semi-early. So we'll get to that soon. So let's break this down. Let's look at the plot. So the very first instance of it is that we see Jason kind of contained in this underground facility, which is actually called Crystal Lake Research Facility. And
who knew it had a research facility?
Exactly. All those years later, and apparently in the year 2010. So at the time of release, as I said, 2002. So we're trying to project this 8 years.
See, that's why I thought it was 2010. It was made in 2010.
Yeah, there you go. So we see Jason kind of, sort of, just standing in this isolated chamber, but he's chained on. And we meet this government scientist called Rowan LaFontaine, played by Alexa Doig, who was there's a lot of Canadian actors and actresses in this.
This is very Canadian.
Very
a lot of, they were banding about a lot.
Yes, they were, and there's a couple of people that were from Andromeda and things like that. So she's one of them, and there's
she's in quite a lot. I looked her up actually. She's in Continuum and
she was in that.
There's a stack of others.
Yes,
Arrow and
she's very big on the TV scene. And so we also have another Andromeda kind of actress, Lisa Ryder, who plays the android. Amongst some other ones. So it's a very kind of Canadian. I think it was probably shot in Canada as well, which kind of lends weight to the reason why it has such a strong Canadian influence within it. Cool. So let's take a look at the as I said, the breakdown of the movie itself. Jason's Jason's in this kind of quarantine kind of place, and scientists are deciding to put him into frozen stasis. Is basically the idea, and because they've tried to kill him several times and failed. And there's this whole bit, isn't there, like where there's this kind of private who gets the heebie-jeebies and doesn't like the way Jason's looking at him, so chucks a blanket over his head. And then we cut to like the officials coming in, or the head kind of scientist played by David Cronenberg. And interestingly, with Cronenberg, like when he was asked to be in it, he said, "I'll only be in it if you give me a death scene," of which they duly obliged. Yeah. So they and this is when they turn up. They I think that I can't remember why, but the Rowan character, she's protesting them putting him into stasis, I think, from memory. Or they're holding it off or something. I can't remember now. And when they get there, the blanket's still over the head of this figure, and they pull it off, and it's the private who's been killed. And at which point Jason kind of comes out of the shadows, and he dispatches about 6 of them in quick succession, these soldiers. Cronenberg tries to make a leg for it, and he dies kind of a la what was it Bron Stark, the like, you know, running a straight line and having a spear kind of
straight through the center
and killing Cronenberg. So that was the end of Cronenberg. And then one of the soldiers kind of, you know, falls out the door, and it's the scientist. She's our lead heroine, the Rowan character. She's kind of seeing this guy, and he's just like, "Run for it!" And she turns around, and Jason's there. She kind of lures him back into the cryo chamber, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she thinks she's pulled it off, but he stabs her just before she's able to kind of close the door, and so she's and in the process, I think he breaks one of the pods, so it starts to all their cryo.
Well, he's stabbed through. It's leaking out all the cryogenic stuff.
Yeah.
So she gets cryogenically frozen.
She gets cryogenically. Yeah. So there's the automatic kind of doors, you know, seal up, because obviously there's a leak.
Yeah.
And so she gets frozen. Along with Jason, so both of them are frozen in time, and that's basically the opener. So what do we feel about that opening kind of section there? How do we feel?
Yeah, good.
kind of good.
There was a lot of gruesome killing. I thought the spear scene was pretty effective.
Yeah.
But stupid decision of the doctor chick for leaning so close in when he clearly got a big machete.
Schoolboy error right there. Yeah. No, you're right. It's good, and it promises something when there's like 6 kills straight off the bat. That it's that way as well.
Set the bloody standard.
I think because we forgot to mention that Kane Hodder's reprising his role as Jason in this.
Yeah.
And he kind of lives and breathes Jason, just even on the circuits. When he goes around and does all these. My mind's just gone blank. Where they do the whole kind of fan-based kind of festivals.
Yeah, like Comic-Cons and stuff.
Yeah. He sometimes goes as Jason just to kind of because he loves the character so much. But he was basically kind of saying to everyone, like, there's 6-7 death scenes right at the very beginning, and there's some great kills in it, and highest kill count I think up to that point we were saying offline as well, which I haven't actually fact checked that, but I think it's definitely up there. But yeah, Kane Hodder in this too, which was kind of awesome to see him in there, as he's been closely associated with the role. I think it was like his 4th film now by this point, playing the role. So we then kind of fast forward. It's 445 years later, and apparently Earth has become too polluted to support life, so the humans have moved to Earth too. And we have these like students that kind of find the old kind of cryo chamber, and they go down and they're starting to uncover stuff, and this is where we meet the core kind of group that are, let's face it, going to get killed one by one by Jason. And at this stage I think we're introduced to I'm not going to pronounce his name right, but Sonoron. We meet Janessa and Azrael, and they're with their professor, Braithwaite Lowe, and there is also an android robot, KM-14, in amongst them, and so they're almost sent down on this kind of, it's a bit of a student kind of student kind of excursion.
Is it like space camp?
It is,
like,
isn't it? Yeah, space camp.
The kids are on space camp and they go and rescue some homicidal maniac from his cryogenic chamber.
That's right.
I didn't quite understand what the purpose of them, there being kids on like a spaceship exploring weird territories. Clearly, Earth was supposed to be dangerous and inhabitable.
Yes.
So why are they taking young children down?
I know. Yeah, that's right.
Dangerous.
I mean, they had they were kind of all masked up and stuff. There was a very distinct look to the attire in this film. I noticed, which I was looking at some of the extras on it, and I don't remember the lady's name that was in charge of the costumes, but she made some really cool drawings and designs and stuff.
Yeah.
So she definitely had a distinct look and feel for it. So anyway, for some reason they're there, and that's when they discover. They first discover Jason in the pod, and that's when I'm trying to remember the kid's name now. The young kid. He was a bit of a douche. One. Yeah. Anyway,
Stoney, is it? No.
Stoney, I can't remember now. Oh no, wait, maybe he was Azrael. I think he was Azrael. But anyway, he's the kind of the young kind of annoying one. And Jason kind of, as they open the chamber, Jason falls out and severs the kid's arm off with his machete. He's still Jason's still frozen, but yeah, the kid's just standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this is the reason for it is because we get to see the advances of technology as they're able to sew his arm on, and I think they cauterize it first or something, don't they, and then freeze it, and then so there's with human race is definitely advanced, but that's kind of a bit of a hint as to what's going to lay the grounds for later on. But they also discover Rowan's body as well, and they decide to take both of them back because
She's alive.
That's right, and we could study her. It's Demolition Man all over again.
Yes, they can teach her about the shells and stuff.
That's right. Send a maniac to catch one. So they take them back up to the ship, which I want to say is called the Grendel. And we meet a couple of other of the characters there. We've got Kinzer, Waylander, Stoney, and a bunch of kind of grunts essentially as well, isn't it? There's all the army.
Yeah, the runts.
Yeah.
Are they I don't know. Are they supposed to be? Is that what they're calling the school students or something? Or
I don't know.
Or maybe they're like trainee pilots or something.
Maybe. So anyway, they start the reanimation process of Rowan, and we also have Jason's body kind of starting to kind of be resurrected too. We get a bit of an insight into the professor's character here because he's very money focused, and he calls up this dude who's on this spaceship called the Solaris, and he's talking to him saying, I've got these two bodies and stuff, and he mentions Jason Voorhees, and then this kind of dude kind of suddenly says, yeah, I know him, he was notoriously a notorious serial killer, and you probably could get a lot of money for his body. So it becomes a bit of a precious cargo situation, which changes the things around.
Very alien, isn't it?
Very alien, yeah, very alien as well. What do we? I don't know if this is a good point to mention it, but what do we think of the special effects at the moment? At this point,
they're not terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I can't remember what point it was, but as I was watching it, I felt like I was watching Lex.
Yeah.
The sci-fi kind of comedy.
Was it the shuffle thing? That's what it felt like, because it was like...
Yeah.
That wall with the two weird thrusters coming out of it, so...
Yeah. And so I kind of... It took me out a bit. I felt it looked a bit dated, looking at it now. And, I wonder... I don't know what it would... It would be interesting to have watched it at the time, but as I said, because this is the first time I was watching it. It just threw me a bit. Took me out of the movie, which was a shame.
Look, they weren't terrible. Probably for the time, it was probably way ahead of its time, and for a horror film to have like that sci-fi element is probably quite good as well. Especially considering the genre of the level of this genre film. So it wouldn't have been a great deal of cash into it, but
yeah, I have to say I do applaud it in the sense that they definitely went in with the intention of making a Jason film that had never been seen before. And by setting it in space, setting it in future, you're just changing the elements of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And providing something a bit new. And so we'll talk about whether it works or not at the end. But yeah, as I said, I do applaud them for at least trying something new with it. So this is the next thing though. We get the whole, everyone just starts having sex left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I know. That was really bizarre.
like literally, it's like everyone. It's like, all right, you're stuck in space. Get it? Yeah,
Yeah. Somebody slipped something into the water.
I know. It was like, what the hell? Like I get like one or two, but it felt like it was like they were just trying to make sure that there were couples everywhere.
Yeah. It was the whole setting up with because they don't have the drugs. Yes. They don't have anything else.
No,
so they got them having the premarital sex kill them off instead.
Yeah, that's right. The age-old trope. Yeah, hilarious. So basically they're off going on this. I think the main focus was they leave one of the female doctor alone with Jason, and there's meant to be two of the young kids who are a couple, and they're kind of been a bit too distracted with one another, and she just tells them to fuck off because they're not getting any work done. That's Stoney and Kinzer, I think, and they go off. And then Adrienne is the name of the scientist chick, who's on her own, and it's the usual, where you can see Jason starting to move in the background. Bit of a horror trope. But I have to say, this is probably one of the best death scenes that comes up in this movie, because he comes out of nowhere and attacks Adrienne, and he's grabbing her by the head.
Oh, yeah.
And then he throws her face into liquid nitrogen.
That was awesome.
We see her body kind of from underneath the liquid as it kind of freezes, and then he lifts her back up again and just smashes her head into pieces onto a counter.
Yes.
Gruesome death scene. I loved it. At this point, I was like, "Oh, okay, it's going to be like this, is it?" All right, bring it on, Jason.
It was definitely a promise of things to come.
So Jason's fully resurrected. And I think at some point, and I'm maybe jumping around at this point too, but this is, I'm sure Rowan also learns at this point that Jason's also been brought back on the ship, and she said, like, she's basically saying to him, "You got to kill it. Like, he's going to kill us all." And they again, the usual, like, no.
Don't be silly.
Why would we kill it? Costs a lot of money. So Jason then kind of makes his way around the ship essentially. And he has this kind of machete-shaped surgical tool. As he goes through the ship, he then kind of comes across the couple who are having sex. Stoney shoves a machete right through his chest, and then drags him off to his death, leaving Kinzer kind of blood-splattered and kind of shook up. We then kind of meet the soldiers, essentially, because this is where we realise that, they're starting to panic because people are, a couple of people are dying. So we get the Sergeant Brodsky character, who is the guy who never dies in this movie. You keep thinking he's like the yin to Jason's yang, in the sense that, like, you keep thinking he's dead and he comes back.
There he is again.
It's like, wait, what? Seriously? Okay. Anyway, so he's like the sergeant, and he goes off with the soldiers to try and flush out Jason and kill him, essentially. And then we get the bit where we get the whole. I felt like the Star Trek kind of hologram room.
Oh yeah, they're like the virtual reality
thing. Yeah. So like we got Dallas, who is the guy, as I said, the guy that's played by Todd Farmer, the writer. And he's with the annoying young kid.
Yeah.
And they're playing like a bit of a shoot 'em up game. In this kind of virtual reality deck, and then Jason turns up and starts killing all the aliens, and they tell it to deactivate, but it doesn't. And we see the young kid get his whole self severed again. At which point we then realise that they are in the virtual reality room.
Yeah.
And Jason's kind of standing there a bit kind of perplexed. And they
really, to be honest, it doesn't take much to confuse him.
No,
really.
It doesn't.
Like running his brain.
That's right.
Shaft is all about just hacking people to pieces.
That's right. He's like, what? I was having fun then. Where the fuck am I? So then he just kind of basically Dallas, I think, pulls a gun on him or something and starts shooting him, and it doesn't respond. The young kid jumps on Jason's back, and Jason just kind of swings him round and just breaks the guy in two.
Yeah.
And then like this becomes a bit of a signature move for Jason in this. Like, he grabs Dallas and just shoves his head against the wall and just keeps smashing his head against the wall. He does this like quite a few times in this movie, where a lot of guys get their head basically just pummeled. Into the side of the spaceship.
Primal though. That's the thing. It's kind of, even though you're in that sort of sci-fi, space, futuristic sort of atmosphere, you can still just get your head smashed into a pole.
Exactly.
And die. So it gets simplified by death.
Yeah. Well, it's effective. It works. So, like, why change it?
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
So then. These are a couple of other guys that have been killed off. And so then we get the whole kind of the army soldier guys trying to hunt down Jason basically and kill him.
Yeah.
But they kind of all get kind of killed off one by one. I think the first guy is snuck up from behind and then pulled into this kind of crevice area, and then basically Jason just breaks his neck, and then kills him. Then want to say the next guy tries to actually put up a fight with Jason. He gets pushed off the banister and then lands on that kind of spirally kind of spike thing.
Oh, that was cool.
And his whole body kind of spins around and down to the bottom.
Slowly sort of spins around.
Very cool death scene, that one. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then we get the girl again. Jason sneaks up behind. He slices her neck.
Yeah.
We don't know her outcome until she then stumbles across one of the other dudes, and then we see her kind of bleeding out. She dies. The other guy puts up a really good fight, and he thinks he's killed Jason because he kind of gets his neck wrapped around the chains, flips her over the side. He gets too cocky, turns his back on Jason. Jason kind of jumps out and basically kills him.
Yeah.
And then we're left with Brodsky, the sergeant who's kind of calling out. He realises he's the last one left, and then Jason stabs him through the back. And he says something like, it's a very funny line. This says something like, and I'm not going to quote it properly, but it says something like, "It's going to take more than that to kill me." And then another one comes through his back, and he went, "Yeah, that'll do it."
So clearly, at that point, you go, "Okay, this is really not going to take itself very seriously."
Not at all. We know it's tongue in cheek from this point forward.
Yeah.
So, and then we think Brodsky's dead at this point.
We think.
So then we get to, like, essentially we're left with the scientists. So they're just thinking, right, we're fucked, aren't we? And so we cut to the pilot of their ship, who's actually they've reached Solaris at this point, which is the closest space station, and they're hoping will be their refuge. And so the pilot guy is just going like, with serious shit's going down. We need help. At which point, Jason just turns up behind him and we don't see the pilot's death. We just see the blood splatter on the screen.
And a big scream, yeah.
And then we hear the guy at the space station going, "You're coming in too fast. You're coming in too fast." And it just careens off the top of the space station and keeps on going. And this is what I meant. This particular scene, like, the effects look really quite ropey to me. But then we get to this point where they kind of shuttle on past it, and they basically like the professor guys. It's okay. We'll turn around. We'll come back. Everything will be right. And then we just see the space station just kind of completely explode in the background.
Yeah. That was quite funny, actually.
Yeah. It's like completely destroyed it.
You're not going back around, mate.
No, that's it. That's right. So I was trying to think. Is there? Oh yes, basically everyone dies. Obviously, the Solaris is completely destroyed.
Yeah.
So they realise that they're on their own. And then at which point they kind of worried about what they're doing, and we get the banging on the door outside, don't we? And then Rowena says, "I think he's gone. I don't think he's there anymore." And then suddenly he comes crashing through this kind of glass window. And they all kind of make a run for it, and then they realise that the professor's not with them, and we cut back to the professor, and it's the whole kind of, he tries to bargain his way out of it. He's like, we can make a lot of money, you and I. And then Jason realises that he finds his machete, his old school machete, and the professor starts to relax at this point, and he thinks, it's okay, he just wants his machete back. And then Jason decapitates him. Yeah. Nicely dispatched.
Gets his machete to do his old job.
That's right. Okay, so the idea, the plan of escape is to try and get to the shuttle and get out of there. And then I think they split up, don't they? Because I think we get the guys whose name I can't pronounce. He's basically he's the tech guru. And he goes off with KM-14, the android, because I think they might be able to try and stop Jason.
Yeah.
So the others are trying to kind of make their way out, and we then get the Crutch character, who's the only guy who could probably fly them out of there.
Yeah.
And then I want to say he gets killed next, don't we?
I think so.
I'm just trying to look at my notes again. Yes, he's trying to prepare the shuttle for leaving, and basically Jason turns up and again smashes his head into this kind of panel, and the guy gets electrocuted to death. Because he's got to unhook the spaceship or something. That's what he's doing. That's right. So then Kinza's made a run to the shuttle, and she starts panicking at this point, and she closes the doors on the others, and then she tries to fly off, but she's still hooked to the spaceship, and just kind of the shuttle basically kind of flies up into the underbelly and just completely explodes, killing her. So the guys realise they've got no escape. They're stuck on the ship. It's losing fuel, and so they're gonna die because they're running out of oxygen. And they think they're done for. I think there's three guys left at this point. So we've got Rowena, we've got token African American actor, and the girl who's sarcastic chick. Left. Plus the, as I said, the tech guru and the android.
Yeah.
So Jason. Sorry.
Has he kissed the android yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he does at this point. Yeah. Because at the point, like, she keeps trying it on with him, and he's just like, and everyone thinks that there's chemistry between them, and he's like, no, there's not.
But she's a robot.
Yeah. And then
they have like this weird flirting.
Yeah, it's the sex thing again, man.
What the absolute hell is going on here?
I don't know. It's like you can cut to the. You can imagine in the writing room. It's like, yeah, man. Wait. What if like he has sex with the robot? Yeah. They're like, okay, all right, mate. Yeah, sure. Anyway,
it's like as if Lance Henriksen had sex with Sigourney Weaver.
Oh God, do we go there?
It doesn't sound right.
Come here, Bishop.
No.
It gives a whole new meaning to the term Bishop's finger. The anyway, so
oh, no.
Anyway, so look, so he turns up. Anyway, the tech guy turns up with KM-14, and she's uber-fied. She's ready for battle.
She's had an upgrade.
And she's had an upgrade. She kicks ass as well, I have to say. She goes to town on Jason. And really, it's a good fight scene too. And like he ends up kind of smashed down on the floor, and you're thinking, it doesn't matter how many times you're going to shoot him, he's just going to keep getting back up. But then she blows his fucking head off. And
exactly.
You're like, oh, right. Okay. All right. That was over a bit quick.
Yes.
But little did we forget that he's coincidentally landed on the medical bay.
I mean, you could pretty much see that coming when you think about it. You just got to go, can you just like move him to the left a little bit? Away from where the ants or whatever they call those.
The ants.
Micro things.
Micro stuff. And so he slowly is getting kind of rebuilt again. Except we know he's going to come back uber-fied. And we're going to get the picture we saw in the VHS cover, as he said.
That's right.
But so we all the guys all think that they're home and dry. Although they're not quite, because they realise they've got to try and save their butts, and there's like another rescue ship coming. And then the guy kind of says it's not going to be long enough. We're not going to be able to do it. And they come up with a brain scheme of if they blow up half the ship, to separate themselves from the other side of it, they'll be able to save themselves. There's a bit Event Horizon, where they try and the same kind of process essentially. And they realise they could save themselves. So that happens. They think they're. Does that happen yet, or are they? Am I jumping ahead a bit? No, they've got to still do it. That's right.
Yeah.
So they set themselves up, and then all of a sudden, Uber Jason turns up.
Yes.
And they start panicking. He punches he's come somehow outside, isn't he? I can't remember how he gets outside, but he punches a hole in the wall, and then they try and get out there, but the sarcastic chick falls over. She's struggling to kind of get out, and then she just. Gets,
no, I think they've blown off the other ship.
They have blown it up by that point. Okay,
and that's why he's outside.
Okay, right.
And so he's pinned on there, and then he punches through and punches the hole, and sarcastic chick gets sucked
pulverized. Yeah. And it's very quick. That death scene. It's not like Alien Resurrection, where the alien creature gets slowly sucked out of the hole.
No, just like suddenly you're a globule of flesh.
Yeah.
Wobbling around.
That's right. That's right. So she's done, and I forget if we've already mentioned the bit where it got blown up, but the African American dude got killed off during that bit too.
Yeah.
Because he blew up. He had the detonator on him, didn't he? So he was able to sacrifice himself to try and save the others.
That's right.
So we're left with Rowena, the girl from the beginning. We're left with the tech guru, and we're left with their head. KM because she tried to make a stand against Jason, and he basically.
And Brodsky still or not?
And Brodsky is still floating around. Yeah, literally. So he's around too. So and he does that. He does the spacewalk, doesn't he? Because the only way they can get into
outside somewhere.
That's right. The rescue ship arrives. And the only way the override system has kind of kicked in, and they can't open the door to get out of the escape hatch.
Yeah.
So Brodsky suits up and goes outside to try and fix the problem.
With the mechanics.
And in the meantime, Jason's starting to turn up, and Tech Guru guy decides to play a trick on him. Sets up the virtual reality suite that looks like.
Camp Crystal
Lake, yeah. Which again confuses our poor Jason, as he
even has the two young camper girls.
Two young camper girls who are ready for a bit of camping action
and premarital sex. So they feel a bit hot. They have to disrobe, as you do. They climb inside their little sleeping bags. They're ready, to rock. There is a moment where you can tell Jason's not fooled though. There's a bit that slightly is, but he kind of senses, he could see the tech guru guy through the portal. Yeah. And the guy, and he even says, "Oh shit, I think he saw me." But he gets distracted by the two girls. Yes.
Jason does, that is. And then he twats them in their sleeping bags. Was that the fifth one? Where he picks up the chick in a sleeping bag and hits her against the tree.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's a bit of a nod back to that one.
But he's whacking one
with the other.
With the other.
Yeah, I love it. It's to me this I don't. There's something obviously wrong with me, but I was in tears with laughter at that scene. I thought it was hilarious.
But he's having a great old time.
He's having a good old time. Is Jason, isn't he?
Going, ow, ow.
Oh, dear.
And he just goes, fuck it.
It is, yeah.
Whacks her against the tree, basically.
That's right. So look. Anyway, he kills off the fake holographic kind of chicks, and then that's it. He starts making his way through, and they're like, "Oh shit, we've got to go." They eventually manage to. Brodsky manages to open up the escape hatch. They go in, but the guy kind of mentions KM's head. So
got my
head. So who is it? Is it the chick that goes and gets the head? I think so.
It does. Where's my head at? And
that's it. Where's my head at? And so they get in. The door shuts. You see Jason still showing towards them, but they manage to kind of blast away. And they think they're safe. The ship blows up that they were on, not the escape ship, the other one, the Grendel, and they think they're okay, but then all of a sudden Jason comes careering towards them through space.
He's coming!
He's coming! And then out of nowhere, Brodsky intercepts, and like grabs Jason, and then they start kind of careering down into the Earth's atmosphere. Yeah, like just burning up into flames, essentially. And so Brodsky finally does die, along with supposedly Jason, as they kind of plummet to Earth. The other survivors seem well; they're okay.
Yeah.
And then we basically kind of
a young couple.
Yeah, on Earth 2. So this is the new Earth, and we cut to the young couple. They see what they believe is a falling star, which is basically Jason, plummeting into the lake. And they said, "Oh, it's landed in the lake. Shall we go and check it out?" And then we see.
Oh no, Brad!
And then we see from the bottom of the lake, we see Jason's charred mask kind of sink into the bottom of the lake, as the two kind of teenagers go off to kind of find their shooting star, their falling meteor. And that's it. That's the end of the movie, man.
That's it. And they didn't make another sequel after this.
They didn't. No. No, that was it.
Not a sequel to this, anyway.
Not a sequel to this one. No.
No.
Yeah. So, what do we think? Like, I mean, like, we you said when you first watched it, you had a memory of not thinking it was a bit of fun. Kind of liked it.
Yeah.
When you watched it again for this one, where did you land with it?
I mean, having David Cronenberg pop up at the beginning was kind of give it a little bit of street cred, and then it just kind of went a bit stupid. There was just a whole bunch of moments that you just kind of go, these people are idiots.
Yeah.
All of these people are making the wrong decisions every single time. I mean, I know it's a horror movie, and that's what essentially horror movies are all about. It's like teenagers and young people in their 20s making bad decisions. But they seriously were for a supposedly bunch of intelligent young human beings. They were just absolute freaking morons.
Yeah.
So, but it was good. It was good fun though, and Jason's face.
Despite that, it was fun. Yeah, look, I as I was watching it, I was sitting there going, "This is starting to feel really bad." And I was starting to kind of regret my decision in watching it, and I was like, "Oh, this," and I was in my head, I went, "This could actually be the worst Jason movie."
Yeah.
And after I watched it, I kind of looked back at the others. No, I didn't watch them. I just reminded myself of what they were, and then I went, "Oh no, that's right. There was a new beginning. That was shit. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Jason Takes Manhattan. That was crap."
Yeah.
But
there's a lot worse than this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I was just like, "Oh, hold on, maybe it wasn't as bad." But I have to say, it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't amazing.
Nah. Some of the death scenes were pretty good. I have to admit, like particularly as the cryogenic kind of face plant
that was
shot was pretty cool. And there was a couple of other, little the guy dying on the spiral thing was kind of gruesome. I did like the Cronenberg cameo, albeit brief.
Yeah.
I thought the dialogue was atrocious.
That was awful.
And the camp factor in it was a bit too tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Which put me off it a little bit.
It had its moments. I think there was a couple of times, for the movie geeks, for the Star Wars geeks, there was the, how far away are they? 4 parsecs, and you just go,
yeah.
No. And then the two camper virtual
reality.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I did like that little scene too. Yeah.
And but yeah, the rest of it was just terrible, but it was just fun to be.
Yeah, that's
it was so bad, it was good.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It was good fun, and like the next time we see Jason would actually be in Freddy vs. Jason, which was actually in development at the time this was being made. They just didn't. They just wanted to try. Like it'd been a while since I think Jason had been on screen, and so they wanted to kind of put him into into the limelight a little bit again before Freddy vs. Jason came about, and this was their answer essentially to do that, and maybe that lends itself to being a bit fun too, because obviously Freddy is very witty and a bit comical. I mean, he's the token one-liners, isn't he, Freddy?
Yeah.
So maybe it was just kind of paving its way for that. But that's a very kind of long bow kind of approach to if that's their process to get there. But yeah, just kind of myself. I just found it a bit too miss rather than hit on this episode, unfortunately.
It was very cheesy.
Yeah, incredibly cheesy. And the effects I wasn't that keen on.
Yeah.
There was some point when it was good, it was good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think it was more the exterior kind of space shots that kind of threw me a bit. But there you go. So we're 10 in, man. 10 installments of the Friday the 13th franchise.
That's right.
So we're getting there. So if you were to, I mean, I think I've already answered it. I think myself, I feel like this is the third worst Jason movie.
Yeah, I'd probably say that.
So I'm kind of like more lower ends than middle.
Yeah, there's a lot better ones than this, but there's a lot. I mean, there's a couple worse.
Yeah. See, I don't know. So like I can't remember. Like I know I can't remember where we put the third one, 3D. I can't remember where we placed that one because I remember we were a bit. It was relying on the gimmick a bit, wasn't it?
Was it the one that's set in the home?
No, that's the New Beginning one. That's the one I said really bad. That's the one that doesn't have Jason in it, and it's shit. Yeah. So yeah. There you go. So that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, I think we're kind of. It's a shame. It feels like I mean, thankfully he does come back, and we will reserve our thoughts on that for an upcoming podcast.
I can just give you a sneaky peek and just say that I really liked Freddy versus Jason. I thought that was a cracking film.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, we're gonna hold off on doing the Freddy versus Jason one. We're gonna leapfrog that one and go to the remake for the next time we talk about Jason in a couple of months' time. And the reason for that is that we're going to start looking back at the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and we're going to start dissecting and discussing those. So stick around, podcasters, and keep your ears out for that one as it comes around. And we'll keep Freddy vs. Jason up our sleeve until it's time to duly discuss how those two meet on the big screen. When we get through all the Freddy films. But that's probably it for now. Is there any other final words on Jason X?
No. Sayonara, Jason.
Sayonara, Jason, indeed. Okay, well, on that note, thanks for listening, podcasters. We hope you enjoyed our ramblings as we dissected and discussed this movie. As we sign off with our closing credits for the episodes, we're going to try something a little bit new and play some cool tracks from artists on the rock, metal and punk scene here in Australia. And we're going to kick off with a 4-piece act from Newcastle called Zombonimo, who have just recently recorded their third independent album. And we're taking one of those songs from that's called Try Harder. And what's interesting about this act, they're not just heavy and fucking glorious. They also have 3 lead vocalists. So we get a real kind of mix-up of their vocal abilities along with their hard-hitting rock music that comes out from this band. As I said, they're from Newcastle. Check out the notes on the bottom of our podcast for information about them, and head over and check them out because they're pretty cool. Thanks very much to the Zombonimo band members, Kim Abbott, Dan Corbett, Chad McCamley and Tony Rees for letting us play this track, which is called Try Harder. Until next time, I am your host, Saul Muerte, and I was joined by Miles Davies.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Surgeons of Horror podcast. Music supplied by Peter Nezik. For more discussions or podcasts, head over to surgeonsofhorror.com or head over to our Facebook and Twitter sites for the latest news and updates.